Conservation Commission. It is Tuesday, November 10th. It's about 9:31, and we are coming to order to take up our agenda for the morning. We will initiate this meeting with the roll call. Hearings Officer Thomas.
Thank you. Commissioner Gibbs.
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Here.
Commissioner McGowan.
Here.
Commissioner Messner.
Here.
Commissioner Nanjapa.
Here.
Commissioner Putnam.
Here.
And Chair Robbins.
Here.
All right, Mr. Chair, you have 7 of 7 commissioners present.
Excellent. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Our agenda this morning starts with the consent agenda. We have 3 groups, Group A, Group B, and Group C. Do we have any need for recusals from any commissioner? Is there any discussion with regard to consent? And if not, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on consent? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is approved. The next item on our docket is consideration of mission change rulemaking 200 through 600 series. And I've got a couple of thoughts on this. So on September 28th, we concluded final preliminary deliberations on, I believe it was the 600 series. We had already undertaken final preliminary considerations on the 200, 300, 400, and 500. And so on the 28th, we finished up the 600 preliminary considerations. I believe via those votes, which were all unanimous, we basically undertook the substantive vote on each of those series after a tremendous amount of worthy public comment and stakeholder participation with us. We continued that to today, November 10th, with the idea that we would take up the final vote on the 600 series as well as the statement of basis and purpose on the 600 series. Since that time, we have been very involved with our staff and with our stakeholders in the consideration of the 800, the 900, and the 1200 series, which will begin this afternoon. On top of that, our staff has been working tirelessly to redline the statement of basis and purpose to be consistent with the direction that we gave on the 200, 300, 400, 500, and 600. That is not an inconsequential task. In fact, it is a consequential task. We received from staff on Saturday, November 7th at 5:37 p.m., 457 pages of redlined statement of basis and purpose and redline conforming edits to the 200, 300, 400, 500, and 600. I know that I personally have spent a tremendous amount of time working through those 457 pages starting Sunday morning. I didn't open my email on Saturday evening when Attorney General Davenport sent it at 5:37. Despite those tireless efforts, I'm not done. This is, as I said, consequential. We have done a very good job as a commission with our staff and with our stakeholders of patiently working through red line edits and drafts of documents. And I, for one, am not ready today to say that I'm good to go with the 457 pages that we received on Saturday. It's looking really good. Staff has done, again, an amazing job in terms of turning our direction into, in particular, red lines to the statement of basis and purpose to provide perspective on how we arrived at the language of our rule series that we arrived at. But there are still numerous pages that need to be reviewed. There needs to be cross-check references. We need to make sure that we've caught all typographical errors, and we need to ensure consistency between the SBP and the actual rules. And so with that, my suggestion to commission, and I'm looking for information from the rest of my commissioners, is that we continue the 200 to 600 final vote until the last day that would be applicable for a turn-on date of January 15th, and that would be to continue today until November 25th. I would also seek a motion to adjourn until November 20th for the 200 to 600. And what that does is that tees us up for a consistent vote on all of the final series, not only the 2 through 6, but the 8, 9, and 12, because the way we've got the 1200 series teed up is that we should be done deliberating on them on the 20th. That would then provide us with one final penultimate vote on all of our mission change rulemaking on November 20th. The continuance to the 25th is out of an abundance of caution, and after I had offline discussions with AAG Davenport about how do we do all of this. So those are my thoughts. I would finalize my thoughts with a notion to all of our stakeholders that this is by no means any sort of abdication or not getting this done right. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. It is to get this done right is more important than getting this done, and spending a little more time on this while we're also in the breadth of doing the wildlife rulemaking, I think is just the right place to be. I would inform the world that originally we had hoped to turn on 2 through 6 on January 1st, which is effectively January 4th, because the 1st is a holiday. And so this is really just January 4th to January 15th, a very minuscule amount of time in which 2 through 6 would not be turned on. And in fact, I sort of think turning everything on at the same time actually sort of makes some sense. So I'll quit rambling and look to my fellow commissioners to see if folks have other ideas about this. And hopefully I'm not the only one who has not finished working hard on trying to get ready for today. Commissioners. Commissioner McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree, and I'm very appreciative of the offer to give us some more time to read through the material. It's a lot to get through, and I don't necessarily have any issues with it. I think staff did a great job, but I'm like you, I'm not all the way through it yet. So the extra time for me would be very helpful.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree. It's a lot of material, and it's not just about reading through it and making sure that that it's all in there. It's about making sure that it's in there in the right place, that I understand it well enough, that I've been able to cross-reference it not only against any commentary I've made on the previous drafts of the SBP, but on this draft of the SBP as well, and matched up on the rules. Go back through my notes, make sure that the deliberations are that everything's captured. So. I'm for doing this right. I'm for pushing as needed to the 19th, and look forward to diving in a little bit deeper than I was able to over these last couple of days, and also work with AAG Davenport and AAG Minor and staff to make sure everything's in the right place by November 25th.
Commissioner Nanjapa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree with my fellow commissioners. All of the same comments that I think it's, it looks really good. There's a ton of work that has gone into it, but I definitely want to digest it a little bit more and make sure that that we've got everything that we said we wanted in there, and that it all makes sense. So I really appreciate the additional time as well.
Very good. Commissioner Messner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I agree. I think one of the things that is important to me that makes sense is to take the time that we have, because it makes a lot of sense, like you indicated, Chair Robbins, to begin implementation of these new rules on the same date. So I was questioning whether there was some challenges between implementing half of the rules on January 4th and half of the rules on January 15th, and if there wouldn't be a potential unintended conflict there. So I think making sure that the rules are all implemented on the same day is really the most compelling reason to take the time for me. So.
Great. Thank you, commissioners. I'm glad that I wasn't on an island and not having felt a sufficient time to get this done correctly. I appreciate all of your comments. AAG Davenport, as we continue through our review of the SBP, as well as the red lines for conforming edits and sort of typographicals, I think that each commissioner could probably get to you and AAG Minor any typos or anything such as that, as well as substantive comments. And perhaps you could be prepared on the 20th when we will try to take this back up to walk us through substantive changes that commissioners may have flagged. Does that sound like a working plan?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. That sounds like a working plan to me. So commissioners, I think the plan is let's have you and I have, of course, individual discussions about what you see in the SBP that may require discussion amongst yourselves in open hearing on what is now contemplated to be the 20th of November.
Very good. And I would just inform Colorado and our stakeholders that we will get the SBP as redlined, as well as the conforming changes through 2 through 6 up on our website so that everyone would have access to that. I would remind everyone, and I would look to you for clarity on this, AAG Davenport, that the record is indeed closed on 2 through 6. So we're not taking additional public comment. But in order to be transparent, I feel it does make sense to get this up on the website, once we've got the, typographical walkthrough done. Is that appropriate, AAG Davenport?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I think that's appropriate. And to confirm your correct statement, the commission did close the record on 2 through 600 on September 28th. So there is no opportunity for further input from the public or stakeholders on this. The SBP exercise is to memorialize your intent as expressed during deliberations in the 2 through 600, and especially your deliberations on the 28th.
Very good. Any further discussion from commissioners on these points at this point? All right, then seeing none, I believe we're looking for a motion to continue the 200 to 600 to November 25th, which is the last date upon which we would need to take action to have an effective date of January 15th. And then following that, we would look for a motion to adjourn the 200 to 600 until November 20th, which is the date that we anticipate we would be taking final agency action on the 8, 9, and 12. Is that one final look to you, AAG Davenport? Did I get that right?
Yes, you got that right. So 2 separate motions, 25th to give us some extra time in the event that we need it, but the plan is to take final agency action on all rule series 2 through 6, 8, 9, and 12 on November 20th.
And again, the second piece of the motion to continue to November 20th, we still have a hearing this afternoon. And so are we gonna just turn off Zoom and then reconvene at 1:05?
Mr. Chair, this is Assistant Attorney General Davenport. That's my understanding. Mr. Hearing Officer Thomas can, of course, confirm that, but we would, after the motion to continue to the 2 through 6 to the 25th and then adjourn to the 20th, we would take a break until 1 o'clock.
And then at 1 o'clock for the world at large, we will be taking public comment on the 1200 series. I think we've got about 65 individuals that have requested to provide public comment. So we look forward to the public's comment at that point. So with that, looking for a motion to continue, followed by a motion to adjourn 2 through 6.
Mr. Chair, quick question.
Yes, please.
Are
Commissioner.
these motions intended to be moved and then voted on on an individual basis? Okay. In that case, I will I'll put forth the first motion to continue the 2 through 600 rulemaking series through November 25th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion to continue carries. Commissioner Gonzalez?
I will a motion to adjourn for the 2 to 600 series until November 20th, at which time we will take on a final agency action of the 2 through 600 and 8, 9, and 1200 series rulemaking.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion to adjourn 2 through 6 to November 20th carries. And then I think at this point, we will take a break and reconvene at 1:05 for public comment on the staff's proposed draft 1200 series rules. And I guess I just want to finish up by telling Colorado and our stakeholders, there's 106 of you on the Zoom call. Thank you for your patience and for your continued nimbleness in 2020. We're undertaking quite a bit here, and getting it done right is most important as opposed to just getting it done. And we thank you for giving us the additional time to make sure that we've gotten through all of this. We'll all get all this up on the website just as soon as we can so that you can read in rapture the SBP as we're reading it. And again, we thank everyone for their continued work with us. You're vital to our getting this right. And we will look forward to seeing you all at 1:05 this afternoon for public comment on the last series, the 1200 Wildlife Series, which is very important. So thank you again, and we will commence at 1:05. Thanks, everybody.